Prahlada Lada Dayane Prahlada Lada Dayane Hiranyakasipurvaksah Silatankana khalaye Silatankana khalaye Ito narsingho parato narsingho Yato yato yamitato narsingho Bahir narsingho hriday narsingho Bahir narsingho hriday narsingho Narasringamadim charanam prapade Narasringamadim charanam prapade Tavakkar kamalavare Nakha Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanubringam Kedavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Narsingadev, Jaya Narsingadev, Jaya Narsingadev, Jaya Narsingadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha. जय श्री श्री नरसिंह देव भगवान की, जय श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की। हरि हरि बोल।
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरदारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरदारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरावन चारी। यमुना तीरावन चारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरदारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरदारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरावन चारी। यमुना तीरावन चारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to this Friday evening Shastra class, Bhagavad Gita class. And it's so nice to see so many of you come again because this winter time is such an effort to get out. So thank you for coming. And obviously, I hope I can deliver the class well. Praying to Prabhupada to inspire me that I can speak. So thank you and bear with me because I'm not such a mature speaker. So, is there anybody new here, by the way? First time?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Pavan.
Pavan. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Can everybody welcome him with three Haribol?
Haribol! Haribol! Haribol!
Where are you from?
India?
India. Have you just come?
Yes, I'm visiting.
You're visiting. I hope you have a good stay, a good Krishna conscious stay. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanusute Devi Pranamani Hari Priye Kalpam Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Bhavavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are going to study the verse 27 from chapter 3.
173 page number in the white books. 173.
It's text 27, chapter 3.
Yeah. Second line. Line second.
Has everyone got the
Memory verse, Radhani? Memory verse.
Yes, for the Bhakti Shastri students, this is a memory verse. So first of all, repeat after me. Prakrite kriyamanani
Prakrite kriyamanani
Gune karmani sarvasha
Gune karmani sarvasha
Ahankara vimud atma
Ahankara vimudhatma
Kartaham iti manyate
Kartaham iti manyate
Prakrite kriyamanani
Prakrite kriyamanani
Gune karmani sarvasha
Gune karmani sarvasha
Ahankara vimud atma
Ahankara vimudhatma
Kartaham iti manyate
Kartaham iti manyate
Prakrite kriyamanani
Prakrite kriyamanani
Gune karmani sarvasha
Gune karmani sarvasha
Ahankara vimutatma
Ahankara vimudhatma
Kartaham iti manyate
Kartaham iti manyate
क्रियमाणानि
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
अहंकार विमुक्तात्मा
अहंकारविमुक्तात्मा
कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते
कर्ताहमिति मन्यते
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
कर्माणि गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
अहंकार विमूढात्मा
अहंकारविमुक्तात्मा
कर्ताहमिति मन्यते
कर्ताहमिति मन्यते
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
अहंकारविमूढात्मा
अहंकारविमुक्तात्मा
कर्ताहमिति मन्यते
कर्ताहमिति मन्यते
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि
गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः
अहंकारविमुक्तात्मा
अहंकारविमुक्तात्मा
कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते
कर्ताहमिति मन्यते
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll read the translation of the word. Prakriti,
प्रकृते
of material nature.
of material nature
Kriyamanani,
क्रियमाणानि
being done.
being done
Gune,
गुणे
by the modes.
by the modes
Karmani,
कर्माणि
activities.
activities
Sarvasha,
सर्वशः
all kinds of.
all kinds of
Ahankara Vimuddha,
अहंकारविमुक्ता
bewildered by false ego.
bewildered by false ego
Atma,
Atma
the spirit soul.
the spirit soul
Karta,
Karata
doer.
doer
Aham,
Aham
I.
I
Iti,
iti
thus.
thus
Manyate,
manyate
he thinks.
he thinks
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Does anyone want to read the translation?
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of the activities that are inactually carried out by the three modes of material nature.
Babaji, do you want to read the purport?
Purport, yeah. Two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform. But there is a wide gulf of difference in their perspective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by the material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of the material nature. Under the order of the Supreme Law, the personality of Godhead, and as such his bodily and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna. In Krishna consciousness, the ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, or the master of the senses of the material body. For due to his long misuse of the senses and sense gratification, he is actually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna.
Actually, this verse is so connected to the next verse. And actually, if we read them together, it will complete our understanding of this verse. So, I'm just going to ask, maybe Manish, you want to read the next verse? Not to read the Sanskrit, but the translation and the purport.
Number 28.
Number 28.
Translation. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty Arm, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well that the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results.
Purport.
Purport. Why should I put that? Nor of the absolute truth is convinced of his awkward position in material association. He knows that he is part and parcel with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and that his position should not be in the material creation. He knows his real identity as part and parcel of the Supreme, who is eternal bliss and knowledge, and he realizes that somehow or the other, he is entrapped in the material conception of life. In his pure state of existence, he is meant to dovetail his activities in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He therefore engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and becomes naturally attached to the activities of the material senses, which are all circumstantial and temporary. He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of the Lord. Consequently, he is not disturbed by all kinds of material reactions, which he considers to be the mercy of the Lord. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one who knows the absolute truth in three different features, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Tattvavit, for he knows also his own factual position in relationship with the Supreme.
As you heard, one is talking about the attached worker in text 27, and in text 28 we are talking about the detached worker. So it's nice when you can actually make the comparison, because then you know the difference. So the person who is the attached worker, he desires his own sense gratification. Whereas the person who is the detached worker in 28 is only desiring the Lord's satisfaction. So the difference in them is the desire. One is desiring for himself and one is desiring for the Lord's pleasure. It's sometimes you meet people and they're so correctly situated in their Krishna consciousness, and whenever anything happens, they literally say, it's the Lord's mercy. It's not something that they're just saying because that's what they hear everybody say. They're actually so well situated, their minds are so well situated with the Lord's feet that doesn't matter what happens in their life, they take it, their whole attitude is, whatever the Lord wills, and they are receiving it with open hands. And that's how they are placed, because they are understanding their constitutional position. There was a verse we just did in the Bhakti Shastri course which says that as soon as one is attached to the Lord, as soon as one has come out of this believing that he is the doer, he at once is at that level, that Brahman level. He may not realize it, he's come out of this having the influence of the three modes stops at that point. Whereas everything in this world, in everything, we are being influenced by the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everything we do, we are being influenced. In a day, we could be under the influence of all three different, depending on what state of mind we are in and what came forth and how advanced we are. But the one who has faith, the one who has his faith is undisturbed. Doesn't matter what, he's undisturbed in his the word is he's surrendered. Surrendered is the word I was looking at. When he's completely surrendered to the Lord's will, when he's completely surrendered, he has actually now come out of this influence of the modes. They stopped influencing him, and that is what you call the Brahman state. And that is what is written in that last, is namely Brahman, Paramatma, that is called Tattvavit. That's actually coming from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's just an example given here. But such a person is above the modes. So here they are describing in 27 the person who thinks he is the person who's doing everything. I have educated my children. Not that the Lord inspired me, that I had according to my karma earned the credits, that I was in this position, that I was so educated, that I was... No, nothing with the Lord. Such a person in verse 27 thinks he is so smart, he is achieving everything because he wants to achieve it, because he is so disciplined. Everything is to do with he. He's smart, he's clever, he knows what to do, he knows best, he knows everything. And everything in 28 verses, the Lord is inspiring me, the Lord is giving me, the Lord wants it to happen in such a way. He's completely surrendered to the Lord. Anything that happens to this person, it's the Lord's will. And anything happens to this other one, so he's got knowledge of his identity. The person in 28 is in knowledge of the absolute truth. He knows his position is that of a servant of the Lord. He's not confused about his position. He's not confused about what he is able to do and not. He knows everything he's doing because the Lord is enabling him. The Lord is inspiring him. The Lord is giving him the knowledge. He is a servant of the Lord. It doesn't matter what relationship you have with the Lord. There's one thing that is for sure, that you are a servant of the Lord. Whether you are in a friendship relationship with the Lord, whether you are in a lover's relationship with the Lord, or you are in a servant relationship, it's one thing common. You are the servant of the Lord. And such a person in 28 is in full knowledge of his constitutional position, that of the servant of the Lord, that he is the eternal fragmented piece of the Lord, that he is eternally in service of the Lord. So whatever position he is being put in, he is happy with whatever's coming his way. The person in 27 wants to take credit for everything that is actually not his. He's not doing anything. He's just wanting to, he's believing. So he's not in the correct understanding of his position. He thinks he is the Lord of everything. He thinks, I can do it, I can achieve it, it's all about I. And in 28, it is all about the Lord. That's a very big, very nice comparison here, because when you're comparing, it kind of makes our understanding clearer. So the person again in 27, when he's engaging himself, all his engagements are mental activities, are all for, even if he's doing it, trying to do it as a service, it's really for himself. In 28, it's all for the Lord. So whether he is serving his wife or children, they are given to him by the Lord, and he is serving them and taking care of his wife and protecting her, loving his children and encouraging them, helping them with schoolwork. He's doing it as his devotional service to the Lord, because the Lord has given him a wife and or husband or children, whatever's families, because that is his service to the Lord. The one in 27 thinks, I am such a good person, I'm loving my wife, I'm such a great person, I'm loving my children. The whole thing is I and the Lord. So the consequences of being bewildered by your false identity is that you are in forgetfulness of the Lord. Because you are thinking everything is to do with you, you are forgetting your eternal relationship with the Lord. So when you're forgetting who you are like that lost person on the street who actually doesn't know who he is. If you don't know who you are, well, you're going to have a lot of accidents in life because you don't know who you are. And again, the person in text 28 is very clear about his position of who he is. When you know who you are, there's no confusion. Hello, how are you? You know, I'm so and so. You're not confused about who you are. Imagine if you're a lost person and you've forgotten who you are. Well, you have to be treated. You're going to have to take treatment. Somebody is going to, do you see this? Do you recognize this? Which is what I would say devotees do to people who are lost in this world. They give them the mantra to chant, and slowly the person is going to feel, you're not going to like it, and say, what is this? I don't like this medicine. And then slowly as you're chanting, you start feeling happier, and then you're looking at pictures of Krishna, and then it starts to make sense. Maybe not in the beginning, but it will. That is treatment for a person who is lost, who doesn't know who he is. So when you're practicing Krishna consciousness, and in which, while you're practicing Krishna consciousness for yourself, you're selflessly trying to help others who are lost in this world, it is a service to the Lord. It is like there are members of this family who are not feeling well. So I want to take care of them, and I want to help them be happy and not be sick. So when you're doing such a service, you are actually pleasing the Lord because you are helping his lost children find way back to the Lord. I don't speak a lot, so I think I have made my point. Does anyone have any questions?
If I can ask.
Yes, sure.
It was a very valid point made. Quite clear the definition of one type of a person who's all about himself and the other who's clear about what his identity is. You also explain about the consequences of being in that lost state. But how does one make that transition into the second stage? Should you just maybe throw some light on that? Because most of us are in and out, in and out. How do we make a solid transition to...
Actually, your question, it just reminds me of something I actually didn't read, but very flippantly read a message on my Guru Maharaj's group that comes through, and he has said that, this word surrendered, we talk about it very flippantly and as if we really understand the word surrender. When we are truly surrendered, we have actually, as I said, we have come above. We are at that Brahman state. People talk about, we are actually at that state. We are not being influenced by the modes of material nature. And he says in the remark, where I didn't read it properly, it's supposed to have been mentioned in some magazine called the Dandavats, and he's talked about it, that as you advance slowly, it's a long process, Prabhuji. It's a very long process to where you will actually come to the point of being that you have made that transition. And it all depends on our desire to attain it and the purity of our and sincerity of our desire. So if we sincerely desire and we sincerely pray to the Lord, is what I do. I just keep praying to the Lord and I keep saying, please, 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 please. I mean, I'm not such a, advanced person, but my prayer is, I just speak in the language I know, but it comes from my heart. And I find that when I do pray and ask for, I do get help. How you make that transition, it's a slow process and it depends on your desire, sincerity. So how solid is it that you've made that transition is by how sincere you are. He reciprocates according to how much you want him. And he can't give you any more because that goes against the law, because he's only going to give you as much as you want, because that's as much as you can handle. Because if you went into a class which was beyond you, you're not going to understand anything. So you're a GCSE student. I think if you went to university, jumped A levels, you're going to really struggle. So it's a process, and it's going to be step by step. So if we continue to chant, and a lot of people think, oh, it's so boring. I mean, like, what is this chanting of these? I can say it, I can do it, nothing is happening to me. Actually, chanting is, according to my Guru Maharaj again, he says, just by being connected to ISKCON, or just by doing your services, you're not going back to Godhead. So what is it you want? Do you want to go back to Godhead? Well then, how good is your japa? Because this japa is your direct link with the Lord. So I would say we have to endeavor and persevere through bad japa, through bad situations, to make our japa so good that we, when we sit down to chant, feel absolutely connected to the Lord at that time. That japa is going to improve everything else in our life. Our services will improve, our understanding of Shastras will improve. Suddenly we will be inspired, suddenly we will know. We'll just know it, and that is all based on how well we chant. So chanting is the basis to everything.
So no crash courses to get certified overnight?
No, I'm afraid not. It's like this. There's no crash courses, and if anybody is giving you crash courses in temples or other places, it isn't actually working. Because if you have to study medicine, you have to do years of hard work in your school so that you have good science subjects. And if you have a single A, you need all A stars. Your application is not even being looked at. And then you have to struggle with these exams. And then you may have to take a year out or another year out and still struggle. And then you will start. It's the same for anything that is exceptional. How exceptional is it that we get linked up with the Lord? So why do we take that as if it is just, I've started going to the temple, I've been going for 6 weeks, I don't see any difference. It's nice sometimes when they're dancing and whatever else, and the food is good, but I don't really want to study so much, and I haven't got time, I've got a job to go to, these people are unemployed. So it's how much you want, and accordingly you will get. So I'm sorry, there's no quick transition. Chant. I would say chant, and it's your sincerity of how much you desire it.
Just regarding that point, it's said that it's yourself who's holding
Yourself
back.
back.
If you wanted to, you could surrender in an instant.
Correct.
So, just like the example given, I think Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati gave, that you're holding onto a tree and you're saying, let me go,
Yes.
So,
Correct. That's very nice. Very nice.
So that means that
do you want to go? Thank you.
so that seems to say to me it's not on. Is it? It's not. The green is.
Are you
it's
loud
on,
enough?
switch the green, but
It's okay.
so forgive me if I'm being ignorant or of anything, but it strikes me that time is not anything that we can really quantify. I mean, the amount of time, especially in relation to what you're saying there, that it can be in an instant.
Yes.
So we can't judge anybody else.
No. We're not supposed to judge anyone. Who are we to judge? We're all sinners for having come back to this planet, into this material world. So we're all here, we're all in the same boat. Nobody's better than the other person. And it takes sometimes many lifetimes before we can actually elevate ourselves to the point that we are, sometimes we discuss amongst devotees, you meet such advanced devotees and you think, wow, I wish I could be like that. But they've earned that. Maybe in their last life they were in a better place, so they've come back to finish the job. They're already there. This lifetime is very small, and this lifetime is really, well, it's very important, but meaningless. It's a journey back to the Lord, and we take many lifetimes to come to the point where we are ready to go back after this lifetime. So you know, when you meet people, you know how advanced they are, you know, wow, that's amazing. But they've worked hard to get to that point. They haven't just got there overnight. And if they have, they worked very hard the last time. Anybody, it doesn't matter if someone is very beautiful, they've earned it. If someone is very rich, also, they have earned it. They may not be, you may find sometimes, you find someone who's very rich, but he's also very arrogant or not a very nice person. Well, they're not doing what they should be doing with being. It's like the queen has a responsibility. She has to behave in a certain manner. That is the job of the queen. And someone who is in a good position materially or in any way, there's a responsibility that comes with it. Because as we study also in the Bhagavad Gita, all that we have, it's given to us by the Lord. So all our qualities are a small amount of His all quality. So if we are rich, we have that richness, but we've earned it through our karma, but we're not all rich. He's all rich, all powerful. Every quality we have is coming from the Lord, but He has it in full, and we have it in a bit. But the more He gives us, it's like if I'm a mother and I have 3 children, 4 children, or 10 children, I give each child, I love each child the same, but I know this child is not going to take care of everyone, whereas this child is definitely much more responsible with. So accordingly, I will give them the jobs, and I'll say, no, I think you're going to spend all your money, so I'm going to give it to your big sister, because she's going to make sure that everybody gets it equally. But if that big sister decides, I'm not giving anything to anyone, I'm going to use it all for myself. That is similarly the situation in this world. The Lord gives somebody a lot, but hopes that that person is going to use it for how He would like it to be used. But should he decide to keep everything for himself selfishly, because he thinks he is rich because he's earned it, yes, he's earned it, but not necessarily how he thinks he's earned it. So then the Lord is not going to be very happy with such a person, just as a parent is not going to be very happy with such a person. Anyone else? Mahina, did you anything? You want to shed some light on this?
So what if you feel a bit like stuck between like material world and spiritual world? Not spiritual world, but spiritual life.
Yeah.
So it's hard to give up things that you enjoy because you don't particularly have a taste for spiritual life. But like, how do you get over that?
So what happens is, there's something called a higher taste. So when you are practicing Krishna consciousness, when you're actually practicing your rules and regulations and following them, you get a taste for such things. So I used to do maybe many things when I was younger that I don't enjoy anymore. So not enjoying it is a separate thing, but juggling between spiritual and material life is a slightly different thing. So when you're not enjoying it is that you haven't yet developed the taste for spiritual life. So you're not enjoying it. But when you give yourself time and you chant, chanting honestly solves every problem. So when you chant, you will develop the taste for chanting and the taste for spiritual life. It's like when you've given up eating meat, you cannot really eat meat again because you know how disgusting it is. But if you have the taste for eating meat, it means you need to do things to have a better understanding and really chant more so your mind is purified, your heart is purified, so then you will find it disgusting. Somebody doesn't think twice before killing someone because they're so hard-hearted and they think, what if this is me? I mean, I just shot him, so what? Because they haven't got that, their hearts are so hard, it doesn't have an effect. Whereas talking about shuttling between material life and spiritual life, honestly, everybody does. Everybody is juggling to balance this material life with spiritual life. And if somebody says they are not, then they're lying. Honestly, because every single devotee I know struggles to strike a balance. We strike a balance. Especially the devotees who are from families where the other members are not devotees. They really struggle. It's a juggle to keep your husband happy, to keep your children happy, so they don't think their mother is weird, or their wife is weird, or the husband is weird. And I mean, what is this nonsense? Why do you have to mark yourself? Why do you have to mark your body? Why do you have to wear this dress? I mean, you can still be a religious person and not do these things. So you get all sorts of criticism. But when you have, it's like, you know, when you're in love with someone, doesn't matter what anyone tells you, you're not going to go away from that. You've fallen in love with a guy, and I'm sorry, someone can call that person rotten. You are in love. It's similarly, when you're in love with the Lord, someone can say what they like to you. You don't care. You're going out on the streets. You're going to dance the glories, sing his glories, everything. You don't care because you're in love. So, juggle, I would say, it will always be, because we are under the influence of the modes of material nature, Maya, which is the Lord's energy that keeps us bound in this conditioned state until we are ready to actually rise above. So we are kept here by the Lord's wishes to keep us safely here till we are ready to move.
So,
Go on.
so if you're not ready,
Then take your time.
yeah.
It doesn't make any difference. So like I say, take your time. If you're not ready, you're not ready. Just chant, do your best, do your best. And if you think chanting, do some service. Because as soon as you've served the Lord, He will engage you more. If you think you can't chant, everybody's different. Everybody's made differently. Not everybody can do things the same way. For some people, it's very easy to study. For some people, they find that it is a chore and they can't sit down. And it's like when you're teaching your children, you have a child who's just never going to read, and then you have a child who's a voracious reader. But the one who's not going to read, you will make play of his work and make him understand the concepts of his science or whatever, and you get him to study. We'll make play of it and teach them. Similarly, if you're not ready to read, chant. If you're not ready to chant, do some service. Because as soon as you've served the Lord, He's going to be so pleased. It's going to purify you without you realizing. You don't realize. That's my experience. You don't realize in the beginning, but when you keep doing and keep at it, if you have that sincere desire to stick it, I'm going to do it. Doesn't matter what, I'm not going to let this human life be wasted. I'm not giving up. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to come back again. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going back. If you have that kind of sincere attitude, then the Lord will make things happen. I struggled myself personally. I didn't come from a family where everybody was a devotee. So I understand where you come. But I'd say it doesn't matter. Do your bit. Just do your best. If you do your best, the Lord within you is seeing and watching. You are doing your best. And He'll encourage you. He'll create situations for you where it will help you. But when He sees you're not really ready, and He'll say, okay, she's not really ready yet. Let her want me first. He wants you to want Him. And when you want Him, He's that. It's like, actually, it sounds crazy. It's very easy to please the Lord. It's actually, I never realized this. It's very easy to please. It's easier to please doing that as well. They think, God knows what, am I going crazy? Is this normal? Is this? You think of everything. But honestly, the Lord is your best friend and He's the easiest person to please. And He's going to love you and protect you more than your husband can, more than your sons can, more than anyone, your best friends can. The richest people will not be able to protect you if the Lord is not protecting you. And if all these people are protecting you, and as these two verses say, then actually the Lord is protecting you. By giving you a husband who is protecting you, by giving you the sons that are going to protect you, it's actually the Lord's hand. He's keeping you protected. So if you have a husband and he is not Krishna conscious, it doesn't matter. He's many other things to you, that's okay. You've earned that too, and that's fine. And he has his own journey, and you have your own journey, and it doesn't matter. Do I make myself? Does that help? And we cannot actually, it's a terrible thing. You know how people say, you should not talk ill of anyone, but we should never look down on anyone. We should never look down on anyone. Somebody could be a murderer or a drug addict or anyone. We're not meant to look down on these people. They're lost children of the Lord. They are as important to the Lord as you are, who would be the best student in the class, never doing anything wrong, everything is perfect with the child, but the person who is last in the class is equally loved. There's no favorites. The Lord has no favorites. And He gives to each one of us what He thinks is good for us. So we all get a different situation. By what we have desired and by what He thinks is good for us. It's very complex, this whole karma thing. I mean, I'm not qualified enough to explain that anyway. Anyone else?
I'm sorry, this may be a little bit out of context, but it's very important as well. When I speak with others, I want to help them to see the light. They come with silly excuse. But in the spiritual world, there is evil as well. And there I can't answer.
In the spiritual world, there is... Sorry, did you say? Can I understand your question properly?
The statement which I get is like, but you're not telling the truth. In the spiritual world, there is evil as well.
So in the spiritual world, there is no evil, but the Lord has every quality. He is also the biggest cheat. So every quality we have, the Lord has it in full. He can cheat you too, if He wants. So He also has, He comes as a scary person when He comes as death. So nobody can be murdered if the Lord hadn't sanctioned it. But why did the Lord sanction? Nobody really wants to go into that detail. They just want to condemn the Lord at that point. Wow, why there is no Lord? How did this happen? It happened because of the person's own, it could be a collective karma, it could be whatever, but we don't know the whole story, but we are ready to comment and condemn the Lord, without whom we couldn't even breathe.
So the story may be in different lives, because it could be a good person in our life walking down the street
Correct.
and just randomly stabbed by somebody.
Correct. But maybe he stabbed this other person. And if not, to be fair, for some reason he was put in that position or walking at, for some reason or the other. It's like this. So I'll try and give an example to make you understand, because it's you cannot turn around and say to someone who's had a bad thing in life to say, well, you earned it. I mean, that's very mean. You don't say that. It's a very horrible thing to say. At the same time, it's all scientific and doesn't happen without, there's a cause and an effect. So there has to be a reason why something ever happens in our life. Whether we have earned it in this lifetime or over many lifetimes. Could be 20 lifetimes away or 100 lifetimes away that something happened that we have to still clear that burden. It
It could be someone who's so nice and ready to go back to the Lord, but something really terrible happens. But by the way, that could have been something really small compared to what maybe the Lord is saying, let's finish this whole karma thing. One slap, over, done, come back to me.
Okay.
God knows. The Lord knows.
So is that the case in, say, for example, where you have tsunamis and so forth, where
Yes,
like
collective.
in Indonesia?
Yes. I would say that would be something like a collective karma. That's how the scripture explains it. Although I would never say to such a person who has suffered such a thing that, well, you don't know, this could be like, no. that would be not being compassionate to a fellow who is equally loved by the Lord. So everyone is equal. And if anyone is in pain, then it is a personal choice. We have just made that karmic choice ourselves. Somebody could have been really mean to me. I went to school and there was a girl and she really bullied me. Suddenly I'm a grown up and I meet the same person. She's in a bad state. Now, it's my choice. I could turn around and say, well, she was so horrible. She was a really mean person. And it traumatized me my whole life. Suddenly I have to make the choice. Am I going to be nice to her or am I going to be... So I've been put in that position to make the choice. She has come into that position where I can give back to her what she gave me. But I can again, it's my choice, free will. I make the choice of saying, no, I want to do what another human being should do to a person who is suffering. I will serve this person nicely, graciously, and love her. And that's it. And that finishes that exchange of karma. So, but like I say, karmic exchange and karma is a very deep topic, and I'm really not any more qualified to speak except what little bit I have given you. So excuse me, and I hope I haven't said anything wrong.
I just wanted to add a little bit on this point. The scriptures is full of several stories and several examples of how people have had to take many lives to suffer and enjoy the reactions of their actions. Dhritarashtra, the father of all the Kauravas, apparently a few lifetimes ago, on a hunting trip, killed 100 children of one bird in an instant.
Those eggs.
And then he had to take a few lifetimes until 50 lifetimes until he earned enough credit to actually have 100 sons and then give all of them in a single shot. So the laws of karma are very strict.
Very strict and very complex.
They don't leave you.
And I don't know which, where I read, again, some ISKCON literature where I read, if you've done something wrong to someone, don't think that by doing something good to that person, you have erased that. You're getting what you did wrong back. It's coming back.
Unless you surrender fully.
Unless you have surrendered fully, then you have been taken on board by the Lord to say, come along.
Or the person forgives you.
Yeah. The person forgives you. Or, yes.
What about accidents? What about the fact that some people may not be within the protection of the Lord because of they may not be advanced enough?
So there are no accidents in life.
I find that hard to believe that every single murder is written previously in a book.
It's like, true, it's very also
I can
very difficult to
understand.
believe that all the planets are actually just going around like so scientifically. It is very difficult
I
for
can
someone.
understand and accept the principle of karma whereby I certainly appreciate the that we are here to learn lessons. I certainly understand that, and that is, what I see karma as. But I think that there may be some explanation for some incidents that we may think of as terrible, that somebody who is a very beautiful soul was maligned by a whole community which may be as wide as a country or even wider than a country. attracted that part of their destiny because they were following Jesus Christ.
That's okay to follow Jesus Christ. He was the Son of the
Because
Lord.
that is what happened to Jesus Christ. How do you explain what happened to Jesus Christ? He
He came for
chose
that.
it.
He chose it, but it was the Lord's will.
So,
So what I'm saying is that there are no accidents in the world.
but he could have been circumvented actually, and there's a lot of, as you probably are aware of, there's a lot of disputes about what really did happen.
Yeah. I think this mother you mentioned is a big topic, cause and effect.
Can I just say something?
You can just be here forever.
I'd just like to say something in general. I mean, Prabhupada's gone through a lot of hardship to write a lot of books. So ISKCON's got a lot of literature, and I think by reading all these literature stuff from very basic, until unless we read all these started from reading books, we don't get a good understanding.
Yes.
So a good question, it only comes after reading something from a good basis. So I would say, I encourage everyone, I mean that's how everybody starts, by reading Srila Prabhupada's books.
Yes.
You get a very, very good idea of how things are, and explain a very, very simple question and elevate yourself in terms of understanding how things work. And then when you got a better understanding how things work, then your question, a lot of your question, at least your basic question will be answered. And then when the speaker answer those questions, it will be more helpful.
Sure.
So I would say, just encourage everyone to read Prabhupada's book.
I was only trying to raise a different angle on it. That's all.
Because
that
Krishna
I have
consciousness
raised.
is all about, body platform. We're talking about material. If you look at stuff from a material point of view, it is a complete different thing. But anyway, we come to 8:30, so.
Please, may I say one thing?
If we just make it quick, we'll make it 8:30.
Please, a short one.
Yeah.
Before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was doing bad things. I was like killing and whatever and nonsense. But now the light inside here is that as soon as I submit to God and I lift above the goodness mode into supreme goodness, I'm actually relieved of all the karmic reactions. That is the conclusion. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what the book says.
I'll just say something very quick. I mean, just as instance, Krishna, when he kills and when he gives benediction, it's the same thing. But that's a difficult thing to understand. How can Krishna kills and give benediction the same thing? But as I said, if you don't read the literature, if you don't Prabhupada put a lot of effort on the purpose, so you got all this perfect knowledge, all the literature are perfect knowledge, and Prabhupada explained them very, very nice and very clearly. So you read the books, and that gives you a very, very nice, at least, background to ask questions. Because if you ask questions and you without reading the books, it doesn't really make sense. Those books are to read, and then they articulate the question, then you can ask questions.
Anyway.
I will start, reading the books. I mean, we all have to start, chanting and reading. That's the first thing we have to do. Anyway, thanks everyone to take time to be here. It's nice to see many of you here. And Happy New Year to anybody who I've not seen. I hope year 2020 will be a much better year than 2019. Just a quick announcement. Next week is our third Saturday of the week, we're having our monthly Mangalarti. Mangalarti is quite auspicious in a program. Prabhupada really recommended everyone to participate in Mangalarti. Program starts 5 a.m. on Saturday, so every third Saturday of the month. So program starts at 5 and goes up till 10 o'clock. So anybody, you don't have to come. If you can't make it at 5, you can come at 6, 7, whatever time you can make it. Please make it. It would be really nice to see quite a few of you. We have a class our class started 8 till 9, and 9 to 10 we have Prashant. And be ready for year 2020 because all the programs starting now. London Rathiati has already been announced on the 14th of June. So just.
Okay. Sorry, I lost it a bit. Is it tomorrow or next Saturday?
Next Saturday. Next Saturday. So third Saturday, yeah. So I don't take much of your time. So we just have. You want to say something? Yeah, Mother called us to announce something for, and then we have Prashad ready for lecture. I'll just pass it.
Hare Krishna. Apologies, excuse me for my karmi attire. I just wanted to quickly share two things with all of you. One is our dear Prabhuji was just making announcements. He used to be known as Behinam, but very recently he's taken formal commitment and he has received very kindly spiritual initiation from his chosen spiritual master, and he's now known as Rajakumar Govindadas. I think it needs to be a bit more louder. He's only recently returned from India. His spiritual master is Bhakti Chara Maharaj, and he's a very, very committed individual. And you will never see him sat down in one place if he's in the temple. He's constantly putting himself at some service or the other. So a very shining example and a great devotee amongst us. Very inspirational. I'm getting paid for this. Very inspirational, honestly speaking. Prabhuji, congratulations and all the best for your future journey. Hare Krishna. Just one other quick thing. Mataji made some very, very important points, some very, very wonderful discussions. So it's quite clear that ISKCON is a learning organization. We put a lot of emphasis and a lot of focus on reading and studying and educating ourselves and getting our concepts very, very clear so there are no confusions. But before ISKCON became what ISKCON is today, about 50, 60 years ago, it was only a bunch of enthusiastic youths who Prabhupada met in the West and did some amazing, miraculous things to put together what we have as an international society for Krishna consciousness. A lot of his direct disciples have put together some amazing memories of times when the first Rath Yatra was organized in London and the first ever Rath cart crashed at the Marble Ark, creating a big chaos, and how there were times when there was no money to pay for the rent or equipment, and then the devotees would finish their morning program and go out in the open and see stashes of money flying in the air, and how they entered right into the middle of the Palestinian movement in those days, and instantly wherever they went started Harinam Kirtan and helped Prabhupada set this movement in India as well, where it originated from. Some amazing stories and pastimes have been put together in a very, very wonderful memoir by Shyam Sundar Prabhu, who happens to be amongst Prabhupada's very, very early disciples. I think the first or the second disciple in America, who was instrumental in setting it up in UK. Shyam Sundar Prabhu, his wife Malati Mataji, and two other devotees were the first ever devotees to come to the UK and set up ISKCON here. So what we have today is a lot of credit to the hard work and commitment to these individuals. And if you want to know about all these stories and more and get inspired, the volume 2 has just come out by Shyam Sundar Prabhu. Okay. We have volume 1 and volume 2 both. But for those of you who took volume 1 when it came a couple of years ago, you can take volume 2. And lastly, we still have a few calendars going. So if you've not given any significant gifts to your friends and family, then please help yourself. We've got a few left. One book by itself is 17, but if you take the two books together, it's 30 only, £30. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Prasade Govinde, Namo Brahmi Vaishnave, Sarva Punya Vitam Rajan, Jive Flavishai Sagare, Dharmate Jivayati, Lobamaya Sudharmati, Nakijata Katina Samsare, Krishna Paradayamai, Karibara Jivajai, Swaprasadan Lilobai, Sayanamrita Pao, Radha Krishna Gunagam, Premne Kaho Shri Chaitanya Nitai, Nimai Jai Nitai, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadha, Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Shri Radha Gokulananda Panchatattva Prasadam ki, Gaura Premanande.
The prasad served next door.
Gaura Mataji ki.
Yes. Yeah, you can do it. 6 o'clock.
And devotees can take prasad in next room and in here as well, if you'd like to.
We need to make section here between 6 and